hexadecimal number system represents the numbers e and 7. So the given hexadecimal numbers, sorry, given binary number in the hexadecimal number system is E7. So thank you for giving a patient hearing. Now Purna Chandra will explain you about the octal number system.
Hi everyone, I'm Purna
Just a
Chandra.
minute, just a minute. Purnachandra, just a minute. Please conclude your presentation during 12:20. Taken 10 minutes in the others class. I request you to conclude within 12:20. I think you're having 50 slides, 50 more slides, isn't it, Kumar Raja?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, please try to converge within 12:20. If it is 12:25, it is okay. You can leave and you can join in the others class.
Yes, sir.
Please go
We'll try,
ahead.
sir.
Yes.
Okay, can I continue, sir?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Purna Chandra. I'll be explaining about octal number system. Next slide. So we get a doubt like why more number systems? Like we humans understand decimal number system, whereas the digital electronics or computers understand binary. So why more? Like computers have 32, 64, and even 128 bit buses. Displaying numbers in binary system is heavy and a little bit clumsy. So hexadecimal and octal number system are used to represent binary data in more compact form, which will be easy for the output. And octal number system. Octal number system is one of the number representation techniques in which value of the base is 8. That means there are 8 symbols or possible digit values. They are starting from 0 to 7. It requires 3 bits of binary to represent value of a digit in octal. Position of every digit has a weight which is power of 8. Each position in octal number system is 8 times more significant than the previous position. That means numerical value of an octal number is determined by multiplying each digit with corresponding powers of 8 and then adding the products. So we can say that it is a positional number system, depends on the bit of value. Next slide. This is the representation of octal number, a small slide. Like octal numbers are represented in the parentheses of base 8. For example, 254 base 8 is an octal number which is not same value of base 10. 254 of base 8 has a decimal equivalent of 172. Like, next slide. Yes, here the conversion of octal to decimal. The process we do is weighted multiplication. Multiply each bit of octal number by its corresponding bit weighing factor. That bit weighing factor depends on the position of the bit. Like for bit 1, it will be 8 power 1, and bit 0, it will be 8 power 0, like that. And we have to sum up all the products to get the decimal form. In this question, we'll be seeing that like converting 136 to its decimal form will be like first we have to find the corresponding bit weighing factor. For 1, for 6 it will be 8 power 0, which is 1. 3 it will be like 8 power 1, which is 8, and for 1 it will be 8 square, and we have to multiply its octal number, corresponding octal number, with bit weighing factor. Then we'll get 64 plus 28 plus it's 6 not 8, it's a mistake there. So we'll get 94 in its decimal form. Next slide. Conversion of octal to binary system. There are various direct or indirect methods to convert an octal number into binary number. In an indirect method, we need to convert an octal number into decimal, then we can convert into binary. There is a simple direct method to convert an octal number to binary number. Like the fact is, like we can represent three octal number as 3 bits of a binary number, following the order. Order must be complete. Next slide. Thanks. Uh, this is a simple technique. Table for converting octal to binary. For 0 in octal, we get binary 000. For 1 in octal, you get binary 001, like that for 0 to 7, and we get corresponding binary values. In this question, we will be seeing the simple technique, like converting octal number 540 to binary number. So 540 to base 8 will be like 5, 4 and 0. Corresponding binary numbers will be, for 5 it is 101 and 4 it is 100 and 0 it is 000. So binary form of 540 to base 8 is you can see that. So next slide. So this is a complete change conversion table. I just kept as a reference. Next. Like conversion of octal to hexadecimal. In case of converting octal to hexadecimal, there is no direct method. First, we need to convert into binary or decimal, then to hexadecimal. Converting octal to binary, then to hexadecimal will be easy because, like in octal, we have to take 3 groups of binary. In hexadecimal, you have to take 4 groups of binary. So in this question, we'll be seeing first we have to convert 536 into its binary equivalent using the tables, or we can work it out. And then converting binary into hexadecimal by forming 4 groups. Like Archit has said, if the MS most significant number has less number of bits compared to 3 or 4 for octal or hexadecimal, we have to add zeros. So from the table, we can convert it to the corresponding number system. That's it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Gautam and I will be taking hexadecimal. So before getting on to the hexadecimal system, we will try to understand why do we need that. Just think of a decimal number, say 1023. The binary equivalent of it would be a 10 bit of this one. So it's really large. So in fact, for every increase in the digit of the decimal number system, you'll find increase of 3 bit in the binary. So this is really a large difference. So working with these bits of binary number makes it difficult, and it's hard to avoid and reduce errors. Not only that, we humans are not good at remembering very large numbers. So that makes to find a new system that is hexadecimal. So next slide, please. Next slide. Hello, Kumar.
Yeah.
And next slide. Before that, sorry, I couldn't see you. 30-second slide. So now let us understand what hexadecimal system is. So hexadecimal system is just a sequence of digits preceded by not hex notation. So it is a base 16 system, which means it uses 16 different digits. We use numbers from 0 to 9 and 8 to F. So we use 16 as subscript to represent hexadecimal system. So let's move on to the table, which shows the relationship between decimal, binary, and hexadecimal. Kumar, move to 33rd slide, please. Yeah, next slide, 33rd. Okay, now we will switch on to the advantage of hexadecimal system. So first thing is it is very concise, and hexadecimal equivalent of binary is 4 times less than that of. So This allows us to store more with less space. And next is it's really fast and simple for conversion between hexa and binary. And hexa is more human friendly as humans are really good at recognizing symbols. So this makes really easier to understand. Now moving on to the application part of hexadecimal. Kumar, move to the next slide, please. So the first thing is it is really helpful in defining the locations in memory. And next is the color codes. So a web designer has to understand those codes which are really written in hexadecimal format. And hexadecimal also finds an application in networking as well, as the MAC address is written in hexadecimal. And memory location defined in binary or any system makes it hard to decode. So once again, hexadecimal finds a place here in error messages to make it easier to understand and fix it. Now we'll move on to the conversion part. So next slide, please. So yeah, so we will first start with conversion of hexadecimal to decimal. And here we have an example of converting A, B, C, D, E, F into decimal number. The first thing we have to do is that we have to multiply the powers of 16 with the respective bit of the hexadecimal number. So we have to multiply 16 to the power of the position or the index, and remember the position starts with 0. So if we multiply, we'll end up getting the decimal equivalence of the hexa number. And be sure to add a subscript 10 to show that this is. Now we move on to the conversion to binary. Kumar, next slide. So this is the first method to convert into binary. First, what we are doing is that we are really converting hexa to decimal and then converting decimal to binary. This is really a long method, but still we have one more method which makes it simpler. Kumar, move to the next slide, please. So we have one more method which is which uses a make use of the table to convert hexa to binary. So what we do here is we convert each bit of a hexa number into its binary equivalent with the help of the table. So it's really good if you remember the table. And this method turned out to be really useful and simpler than the previous method. And that's about the conversion of hexadecimal. And next up we have Rengarajan to take care of the fraction conversion. Thank you.
Hello, I am Rangarajan. I am going to speak about fractional part conversion. Like fractional part conversion, decimal to binary conversion. We are going to 0. I am taking an example 0.35. The first step is we have to multiply the 0.375 into 2, which is equal to 0.75. Here the integral part is 0 and the decimal part is 0.75. The next step 0.75 into 2, which is equal to 1.5. The integral part is 1 and the decimal part is 0.5.
Yes, just a minute, Rangarajan. Just a minute. I request Kumar Raja to zoom a little because he was returned and he was yes. Yes. Now go ahead. Once this slide is over, you zoom out and continue your presentation.
Yes. Then the third step is 0.5 into 2 is equal to 1.0. The integral part is 1 and the decimal part is 0. Actually, when we move on to one step to another step, we have to discard the integral part for the next step. We have to take that number and convert it and use it as the number in the next step for conversion. So at last, when the decimal part comes to 0, we have to take all the integral parts in each step and merge them. That is the answer. Like we can get 0.375 to the base 10 is equal to 0.01 to the base 2. On the next slide, which shows the conversion of decimal to octal. Kumar Raja. I have taken the example of 0.015625. When in the first step we are going to convert 0.015625 into 8, which is equal to 0.125. Integral part is 0 and the decimal part is 0.125. Next step, next slide. The 0.125 into 8, which is equal to 1.000. That is integral part is 1 and the decimal part is 0.0. So when we take out the integral part, we get the answer as 0.015625 to the base 10 is equal to 0.01 to the base 8. The next slide. We are going to convert decimal to hexadecimal. We are taking the example as 0.00390,625. In the first step, we are going to convert 0.00390,625 into 16, which is equal to 0.0625. The integral part is 0, the decimal part is 0.0625. In the second step, 0.0625 into 16, which is equal to 1.0. Integral part is 1, decimal part is 0. As we reach decimal part 0, we are getting the answer as 0.00390,625 to the base 10 is equal to 0.01 to the base 16. The next slide.
Rangarajan, take your own time. Take your own time.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
No, then there is no need to give the presentation with a very urgent. You take your time. Take your time.
Okay, sir. We are going to convert hexadecimal to decimal. The example is 0.011. Till now we have seen the decimal number system to other number system. Now we are going to see hexadecimal to decimal, octal to decimal, binary to decimal. The first step is hexadecimal to decimal. In the example 0.011, we have hexadecimal base number is 16. So we have to multiply 0 into 16 power minus 1, that is 1 by 16, which is equal to 0. Then the second decimal part is 1, which is multiplied with 16 power minus 2, which is 0.00390,625. And the third is 1 into 16 power minus 3, which is 0.00024414062. When we add all those, we will get 0.00393,0664063, which is the answer for 0.011 to the base 16. Next slide. Octal to decimal 0.01. The example is 0 into 8 power minus 1 is equal to 0. 1 into 8 power minus 2 is equal to 0.015625. When we add these two, we will get 0.015625. Therefore, the answer is 0.01 to the base 8 is equal to 0.015625 to the base 10. The next slide. Binary to decimal. The example is 0.11. 1 into 2 power minus 1 is equal to 0.5. 1 into 2 power minus 2 is equal to 0.25. When we add these two, we will get 0.35. That is the answer. 0.11 to the base 2 is equal to 0.75 to the base 10. Next slide. The next few slides are the C++ code to convert the fractional part of any number system to other number systems, which user will specify, and the input the user will give, and they will get the output required in the required number systems. Next up, Rahul will continue our presentation.
Hello everyone, like myself Rahul, I'll be taking the topic of single precision floating point numbers and double precision floating point numbers. Right, Kumaraj, am I audible?
Yes, Rahul, you are audible.
So single precision floating point format is a computer number format. It usually occupies 32 bits in a computer memory. It represents a wide dynamic range of numerical values by using a floating radix point. So it's like the standard way of representing a floating point number is IEEE. It's Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineer. They were those who established it. So the IEEE standard 750 floating point is the most common representation today for real numbers on computers that include Intel-based PCs, laptops, Macs, and most unique platforms. So the standard addressed many problems found in the diverse floating number implementation that made them Kumaraja down like for the previous slide. Yeah, that made them difficult to use, reliable, and reduce their portability. And next slide, next slide. Kumara, the next slide. The next one, next one. Yeah, so you can see here the two different diagrams. The one is single precision floating point standard and the double precision. So single precision consists of a 32 bits. It occupies 32. You can see the first bit, the one bit is occupied by the sign, next 8 bit by the exponent, the last 23 bit by mantissa. Like mantissa is nothing, is the fractional part, like the part which comes after the decimal point. Okay, that occupies 32. You can count 1 plus 8, 9 plus this. Kumaraj, you can go to the previous slide, 53 slide. Like I will explain what is sine, exponent, and mantissa. 53rd slide. Above, previous one. Yeah, the sign, like a sign, you can see its name itself will tell you what is. The 0 represents a positive number, while 1 represents a negative number. The exponent field needs to be represent both positive and negative exponent. Exponent in order to get the stored exponent. The normalized mantissa is nothing as the fractional part which comes after the point. So there will be only 2 digits, that is 0 or 1. So normalized mantissa is 1 with only 1 to the left of the decimal. Go to the 55th slide. Next to the next. Yeah. So you can see this, it will be clear representation of the single precision floating point. Actually, the number will start from right to the left. Like 0, 1, 2, 3, and the last slide will be the sign slide will be 31, the 31st thing. So it will be of 32 bits starting from 0 to 31. The first 23 to 23 will be occupied with the fractional part. The next from 23 to 30 will be exponent. The last will be the sign. 0 represents the positive and 1 represents negative. Next slide. This is what the difference between the single precision and the double precision. Actually, its bias is 127. If a 32 integer will occupy of 2 power 31 minus 1 bits. So here the exponent occupy 8 bits. So it will be 2 power 7 minus 1. So 2 power 7 is 128 minus 1, 127. You can see a single precision will have an exponent of 127. Similarly of double precision. It will be of 1024 minus 1, so 1023. So we will have an example to understand clear single precision, double precision. Next slide, Maharaja. Maharaja, next slide. Yeah, take the example of 85.125. So here we'll take a integer number we'll convert into a single precision number. So the Archit have explained how to convert a number into binary. So 85 will be represented as 1010101 and 0.25 is 001. So when we make a combination of those both, we'll get 1.010101001 into 06. So here it's been 85.125 being as positive, the sign will be 0. And we told that the bias exponent is 127. And here for 85, that's the base value, like base. Whatever the number will have its exponent will be added to the bias exponent, and that will be stored as the stored exponent. So base being 127, and here it's 2 power 6. So 2 power 6 will be the extra exponent that will be added to the base. So 127 plus 6, that is 133. So the conversion of 133 into binary will be this, and the normalized mantissa. Like I told you, the normalized mantissa is what? The fractional part that comes after decimal point after that. So 85.125, 1.0 something. So the value that comes after the point is 0101 01001. So that is a normalized mantissa. So here the normalized mantissa is having 9 digits, and I told you previously that it should be of 23 bits. The rest you can have complete the 23 bits of making to 000. to make a combination of all. What is single precision? Sign, exponent, and the fraction part. So sign is 0. The exponent part we have calculated, that is 133 binary form, and the rest is the fractional part. And Gautam have told us how to convert to hexadecimal form. You can try to make that single precision into hexadecimal form. That will get 442 AA 4000. Next slide. That we have found for single precision, like we'll do it for double precision. Like the change where it made in double precision is the exponent. So the sign will be remain positive and the normalized matrix will remain same. Here double precision exponent, since it's double precision occupy double to the double bit of single precision, then 32, here 64 bit. So 1023 plus 6 will get 1029. That will be the biased or the stored exponent at final. So the binary form of 1029 is this. We'll make all same, sign, exponent, and the fractional part. Sign remains 0. The fractional part of the exponent is of 1029 is this, and the remaining, since it should be of 52 bits, right? The fractional part. So we'll add 52, then convert it to hexadecimal form. Okay, next slide. So till now we have seen the conversion of the integer into single precision. Now let us see like how to convert a single precision floating point number into a integer format. So this is how it is been. You can see the second diagram. This is how it is been placed. It will come till 32 bits. I have not made the diagram. I have stopped till 21 itself. The rest is all 0, 0, 0. The first step, it will be of, see, the 1 represents 0. 0 which is positive number, sign is positive, and the exponent from 2 to I guess around till 9. So its decimal equivalent could be of 2 power minus 2 plus 2 power minus 3. You should make those numbers which contains 1. So 2 has 1 and 3 has 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Till 9 it's of exponent, and from 4 to 9 it's 0. So 2 power 0 like that doesn't matter. So 2 power minus 2, 2 power minus 3, that will be 1 by 4 plus 1 by 8 is equal to 0.3758. That will be the equivalent of exponent. I have written the fractional part is first converted into decimal by summing up all the 2 power minus n. Here n is the position of a bit in the fractional part that has single 1. That is single 1. Next slide, Kumar. Yeah. So the formula for converting a single precision number into a integer format is minus 1 power sign. Sign will be either 0 or 1 into 1 plus fraction into 2 power exponent minus 127. So here, like I have given an example here, 1 this long digit. Here you can see the sign is 1, so it's negative. So we can put it in the formula minus 1 power 1. So it will be a negative 1. Let us calculate the fraction part. So fraction part will start from here, like with 1 000 000 000. So it is having the fraction part as only 1. So 2 power minus 1, that will be 0.5. So you can put the fractional part in the formula 1 plus 0.5. Now let us calculate the exponent. So as I told you before, the fractional part is what? The 2 power minus n, where n is the position of a fraction part having 1 as the number. So 2 power 0 has 1, 2 power 1 has 1, and 2 power 7 has 1. So let us add over this. 2 power 0 plus 2 power 1 plus 2 power 7, we get 131. So that is the exponent value of 131. Put it in the formula, we'll get minus, the sign is 1 plus fractional part, to 2 power 131 minus 127, we get 24. So we'll get this. This is the conversion of this particular single precision into floating point. Next slide. The next slide. And this is an example. Like if you want, you can try it. Like I have already told you the method, like how to convert this into the single precision, and this is a small example of that. Both two examples. If you find interesting, you can try it. Like next, the integer representation will be represented by Ashwath Ram. Thank you.
Ram, I'll just take 3 more minutes because this topic is just a culmination of all the other topics said above. So next slide, Kumar Raja. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Ashwath. Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Can you go to the next slide, Kumar Raja? Yes. This slide is. So, in the case of integer representation, so generally we represent two types of integers. One is the unsigned integers and the other one is the signed integers. So unsigned integers are nothing but these are used to represent 0 and positive integers. So all the topics explained above, we have discussed only about unsigned integers. The next thing that we discuss about is other signed integers, which are used to represent 0, positive and negative integers. So there are three ways to do this. One is through sign magnitude, other one is 1s complement, and the most predominantly used representation is the 2s complement, and we'll see why it is most predominantly used. Next slide, Ram. Kumar Raja, next slide, please. Yes, so this is the unsigned integers part. So we have already discussed on how to convert a binary pattern in its unsigned binary pattern into its unsigned integer form. It has been discussed by Archit. So we can move to the next slide. Kumar Raja, next slide. This is the signed integer part. So as I have told before, this is mainly used to represent negative integers. So these are the three ways to represent it. And with n number of bits, if you have n number of bits, the maximum value that you can represent is given by 2 power n minus 1 minus 1, and the minimum value is minus 2 power n minus 1. So the proof for this will be discussed later. So the next slide, next slide. The first method is sign magnitude representation. In the case of sign magnitude representation, the most significant bit or the last bit is used to represent the sign of the integer. So if it is 0, then it means it's a positive integer, and if it is 1, it's a negative integer. The other n minus 1 bits are mainly used to represent the magnitude of a particular integer. So in the case of an 8-bit number, here is an example. So the sign bit that is the most significant bit 1 means that it is a negative integer. The rest of the bits are calculated similar to how we calculate how we convert a binary number to an integer, to a decimal number. The same way we calculate it, and we add the sign to it. So this is how we calculate it in the case of sign magnitude representation. So the next slide. Kumar Raja, next slide. In the case of 1s complement representation, so the way we convert a binary number into a 1s complement is nothing but toggling all the bits. So if we toggle all the bits of a particular unsigned integer, we'll get the 1s complement representation of it. So how do we find the value from a 1s complement representation? So in the case, if the most significant bit is 0, then it means a positive integer. So the n minus 1 bits can be calculated the same way we calculate a binary pattern, a normal unsigned binary pattern. But in the case of negative integers, if the most significant bit is 1, then the remaining n minus 1 bits must be toggled, and then we should calculate it pattern. We can see it in an example. Next slide, 68. This is an example for 1s complement relation. So in the case of first example, we have 0 as the most significant bit. So the rest n minus 1 is calculated in the same way we calculate a binary value, and it will come as 65 in decimal representation. But in the case of second example, the most significant bit is 1, so which means it's a negative number. So the absolute value, we calculate the absolute value by toggling all the remaining n minus 1 bits and then calculating its decimal representation. So the final value will be minus 126 in decimal value. So next we'll discuss about the 2s complement representation. Next one, Kumar Raja. Kumar Raja, next slide. Hello?
Shubham, if you have the content, go ahead with the content.
Okay, sir. So the next, yes, sir. The next one is the 2s complement.
Can you see the slide?
I can't see the. Go to the 69th slide,
Complementation.
2s complement representation.
Can you see that I'm at 60?
What?
I'm at 69.
Now it is fine.
Can you see?
Now it's fine. Yeah. So in the case of 2s complement representation, it's the same thing. The sign bit, the most significant bit will give you the sign of the value. The only difference is we should do the same step. The way we convert is we should do the same step as 1s complement representation, but at last we'll add 1 to the entire value. That's how we get a 2s complement representation. So how we find it is for positive integers, we again if the most significant bit is 0, the remaining bits we'll calculate it just like a normal binary pattern. But in the case of negative integers, we'll calculate it by adding 1 to the binary pattern. So there's actually another shortcut method which is mainly used, and which is why mostly 2s complement representation is used. So next slide. So suppose that n is equal to 8, the most significant bit is 0. The remaining n minus 1 bits is calculated in the normal way. But in the case of negative representation, we'll first toggle all the bits just like 1s complement relation, and we'll add 1 to it. So and when we find the n minus 1 bits binary decimal value, we'll get it as 127, which is nothing but the negative of 127 in decimal. So the next slide, last slide. Raja. So why we use 2s complement over 1s and sign magnitude is, in the case of 1s and sign magnitude, there are actually two representations for 0, minus 0 and plus 0. So there are two different binary values which will give you two representations for 0. This is actually not needed. And the other main issue is positive and negative numbers, as we have discussed above, must be processed separately. They are taken into account, or they are calculated separately. But in the case of 2s complement relation, a very easy method can be used, which is nothing but, irrespective of whether it's a negative or positive value, we can multiply the most significant bit by minus 2 power n minus 1. So if you multiply the most significant bit by minus 2 power n minus 1 and multiply and calculate all the other n minus 1 bits similar to a binary pattern and add the value, we'll get the total value of the binary pattern. So can you go to the previous slide, Kumar Raja? So in this case, if you multiply, this is 8-bit value. So if you multiply minus 2 power 7 into 0 in the first case, and then we calculate the remaining similar to that, and we add it to that, we will again get 65 as the value. So that's why I said before that 2s complement relation representation can be calculated in just one method. We don't need two different methods to calculate in the case of positive and negative. That's why 2s complement representation is used predominantly. And that is the proof for the maximum and minimum value that can be represented using n number of bits. So that's it, sir.
Yes, very good, very good. I appreciate Kumar Nayak, Purnachandra, Gautam, Rangarajan, Rahul, Ashwattham, and we'll little more will discuss about today's presentation tomorrow. We'll meet tomorrow during 12:30. We'll meet. Thank you, Nandal. Thank you.